Hey ladies, thanks for coming, taking more time out of your day. I really appreciate it. As you know, I am Sam. Today I'm going to be doing a presentation on distracted driving and the dangers of texting while driving. So just by a show of hands, how many of us have personally known somebody who has been injured or killed by somebody else's choice to drive distracted? It's way too common. Unfortunately today, driving while distracted has become a norm. It's a norm that we allow as a community, and it's a norm that we together must change. Only we can make that change. There are many different causes of distracted driving. I don't know if you can see this from there, but I'll go through it. Being generally distracted, looking around, seeing the birds, the river off of the causeway. These are just general distractions, just allowing ourselves to look around and not focus on what we're supposed to be focused on. People watching. People watching is for Walmart. So much fun. On the way to Walmart, not so much. You can really become distracted if you watch people on the road. There's some interesting ones out there. Reaching for an item in the floorboard, the passenger seat, and the back seat. I myself can attest and admit that I have swatted a child or two in the back seat while I was driving, which means I was driving distracted. There are things that we do daily that we don't consider. It takes a couple seconds, and we're good drivers. We don't consider how much focus it takes off of what we're doing. So yes, I have driven distracted. And it's kind of when you sit back and look at it, it's kind of a bigger picture that you look at than when you're driving and doing these things. Things like hitting the AC, changing that, grabbing your mascara out of your purse and applying it real quick at the red light, thumbs downing that horrible song that came on iHeart. These are all just little things that we need to consciously not do and just focus on getting to our destination alive. Out of all of these general distractions, texting and driving has become the number one culprit of car wrecks, in America. So studies have shown that 1 in 4 car accidents are caused by cell phones or the use of a cell phone while driving. On a daily average, 9 people out of these wrecks have died as a result of the cell phone use. So when you actually think about that number is astounding because for every person, that's an entire family that has been affected. So it's a very humbling and saddening, thing when you think about it that way. So the CDC says to read a portion of an average text, it takes about 5 seconds. For a normal driver to still safely drive, they can only take their eyes off the road for 2 seconds. So that really puts it in perspective of how dangerous it is just to look down and read that text and look back up. 5 seconds to 2 seconds doesn't seem like a big jump, but it really is when you're carting a car full of people, down US 1. So there are 3 types of distracted driving. There's visual, manual, and cognitive. I'm going to take you through the 3 so that we can really, truly kind of understand what the different layers of danger are just with driving distracted, and particularly driving while texting. The first one I'm going to take you through is visual. Visual distraction is any activity, partaking in any activity that takes the driver's eyes away from the road. This causes the driver to become oblivious to everything surrounding them on the road. It makes him, unable to make safe decisions quickly if something on the road changes. The CDC claims that reading one average text takes away focus from the road for an average of a football length of space. So if you really think about how vast and long a football field is, reading one text, going 55 miles an hour from what the CDC says, you've gone the length of a football field without knowing what was going on around you. It is so, so scary because, yes, in my life I have read a text real quick, while driving, and that is so scary to think that for a football field length, I had no idea what was going on around me. Visual distraction is the most obvious type of distraction. There's a second one that kind of pops into your head, and that is the manual type of distraction. Manual distraction is any activity that takes the driver's hands off of the steering wheel. That can be one hand or 2 hands, which is super scary to think about, especially with some of the people on the road. Manual distraction, it causes the driver to be unable to keep control of the vehicle. In the event of a older, lady swerving in front of you, or somebody slamming on their brakes, hitting a pothole, hitting gravel, Any of these things can become a huge issue if you are manually distracted. The third, less obvious type of distracted driving is the type of cognitive distraction. Cognitive distraction is taking the driver's focus off of the action of driving. So have you ever driven and gotten to your destination, got there safely, but you look back and you did not remember the ride there? You didn't remember the drive. You didn't remember the weather or who was around you or what happened or the cars you passed with people or anything. That means that you were cognitively distracted. Studies have shown that with cognitive distraction, hands-free driving is no better than actually holding your phone talking on it. Cognitive driving causes the driver to be enthralled in another thought versus being focused on driving, getting where they're going safely, and keeping everybody around them safely. When you're driving, you need to be present. You need to be in your current state of action, which is driving. Driving cognitively distracted can cause a delay in response time in the sudden event, or in the event of a sudden change on the road. Person, weather, animals, your car having a defect, any of these things. But if you're cognitively distracted, you're not in the moment and you're not thinking, in your present state. So although we all know and we see, the obvious and obvious distractions of texting and driving, only a few of us can say that we truly drive undistracted. Now that we've been through the three different layers of distracted driving, we see that it's a deeper pit of danger than just simply looking at a text quickly. I know we're all perfect, great drivers, and we can all handle this. But what we need to do is vow as a community not to drive distracted, to keep each other safe, not just for our own health, but everybody else around us. We don't want to hurt the families, that create this community that we live in. Let's vow to not be visually, manually, or mentally distracted anytime that we drive. Next time you go get in the car and pick up your phone, pick up your mascara, or move, whatever in that seat, stop and think about this horrible presentation, and just how many times you've heard this, but maybe something I said actually resonated in you. What we need to do is hold each other accountable. You're riding with somebody who picks up their phone. Please ask them to put it down. You being embarrassed for a couple of seconds, or feeling like a horrible friend for a couple of seconds is more important than them putting you and your family and everybody else on the road in danger. So we need to help each other be accountable for our own actions. We need to be the change with distracted driving, and keep each other safe. So, hope you got something out of this presentation, and here's a cute little comic if you want to come up and look at it. Guy got in a wreck, he's laying under the car, cop comes and he says, fix this first, my phone went dead. We really need to change that way of thinking, consider ourselves higher than, what's on our phone.